Welcome back to DRS Dispatch and a new series that I am calling Race Report, where I'm going to cover every single race of every single season of the motorsport that is Formula One. So let's get right into it with the first ever Formula One race. This race was the 1950 British Grand Prix, held at the Silverstone circuit, which, fun fact, used to be a airport, as you can see in the little Silverstone circuit map that we've got here, where you can see all of the lines of where the landing pads used to be. And this race was held on the 13th of May 1950, which was 76 years ago now. Of course, last year was the 75th anniversary of Formula One, if you were following Formula One last year. And so yeah, it was held at Silverstone. This is a photo of what it looks like today, and you can kind of still see those runways where all of the runways used to be. Though obviously it's changed a lot in the past 76 years. And here we have a photo of the race start, which is kind of how it looked. So let's get right into the actual race, starting off with qualifying. Now here I have kind of three races on the side here. These are kind of the three races that you should really know as we cover these races more into the future. The top one being the legend GOAT himself, Juan Manuel Fangio, who was an extremely good race car driver. He was, in my opinion, restructure my thoughts properly. In my opinion, he's on the Mount Rushmore of the greatest Formula One drivers of all time. So he was pretty good. And this was his first season in the sport, though it's important to note that this was not the first example of motorsport racing. It was the first kind of Formula One. It was the first kind of major Formula One World Championship event. So we have Juan Manuel Fangio. Here we have Luigi Fagioli, who was another driver for Alfa Romeo, who were kind of the goats. They were kind of the goats back in the day. They were the goats. And then below we have Nino Farina. Yes, Nino Farina, who was another driver for Alfa Romeo. And there's also Reg Parnell, though there's a lot of kind of schmovement around of all of these different motorsports drivers, because the cars were somewhat unreliable during this season. So yeah, that is qualifying. Well, obviously, sorry, let's get actually into talking about the qualifying now. So qualifying happened on the Friday, the day before the race, so the 11th of May it was. And overall, in pole position was Nino Farina, followed by Luigi Fagioli, followed by Fangio, followed by Reg Parnell, followed by Prince Bira and Yevgiro Kabatus, sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong, followed by Eugene Martin, Toulouse de Grafenried, Luis Rosier and Peter Walker. Of course, there's a whole bunch of other qualifiers, but overall they kind of don't end up really being that significant to the race. And as you'll see in a second, most of them actually ended up not really even finishing the race. So because problems with the car were just a lot more common back in the day. They were a lot less reliable, but the fastest pole time was a 1:50.8, which is pretty fast. But let's get on to the actual race. So here is the race start. It's important to note that in total there were 21 drivers from 9 countries throughout this race. God, I can't fucking speak today, damn. It's important to note that there were 21 drivers and 9 different countries being represented here, and they kind of started in a 4-3-4 position. So there were 4 at the start, and then 3, and then 4, and then it went further back, essentially. So yeah, at the start of the race, Farina took the lead with Fagioli and Fangio in pursuit, while Kabatus, who started in P6, got an unfortunately not so good start and dropped very far down the pack. Though it's important to note that Fangio, Farina and Fagioli were kind of swapping around to entertain the fans, because motorsport wasn't really a widely recognized thing, and this was the first example of it being like this massive event. They kind of wanted to play it up a little bit. So yeah, Fangio would then unfortunately retire his first ever race, which was quite the common issue for Fangio throughout this season, as you'll see in later episodes. This was due to some engine troubles caused by a broken oil pipe, which is thought to have been because he clipped a straw bale. And so Farina and Fagioli ultimately led the race by 2.5 seconds, with Parnell a distant third. The Alfa Romeo was pretty cracking. It was a pretty cracking car, needless to say. Despite, unfortunately, one of them hit a hair during the race, which is terrible to hear. I didn't realize that happened. That makes me very sad. Which caused a significant dent in Parnell's car from the look of it, which is really sad. I didn't know that. Damn, there you go. The nearest challenger was then Gerard Cabatunus with 2 laps down, with Bira having retired with a fuel problem. And so ultimately, whilst other drivers in the back of the pack would continue to kind of race on, Nino Farina was ultimately the victor of this specific race, having led the race for 63 laps. In total, it was a 70-something lap race, which I think is around the same of what Silverstone is today, though I might be mistaken in that department. And overall, it was a pretty solid race with a total of 20,000 spectators for this race, which is a lot. In comparison, the AusGP for this year that just happened a couple of weeks ago drew around double that amount, but for the time in 1950, that's a lot of people. So yeah, let's get into the results. Ultimately, we had kind of 11 overall race finishes, with Nino Farina in the Alfa Romeo finishing first, followed by Luigi Fagioli, Reg Parnell, Yves Giraud Cabatus, Louis Rosier, Bob Gerard, Kath Harrison, Philippe Etonceline, David Hampshire, Joe Fry, and Brian Shower-Taylor, both tied for 10th. I don't really know how that works, but there you go. And in 11th, the final finisher was Johnny Claes for Talbot Lager. So yeah, for this 1950 season, the Alfa Romeo and the Talbot Lager and the Maserati were kind of the big three. So there was no Merc, there was no Red Bull, there was nothing like that. Not just yet. So very much Alfa and Maserati were the big ones. I don't even think Ferrari was racing back then, but I could be mistaken. You'll have to wait and see for future episodes. The funny thing about this season is there was an Indianapolis 500 during the season, which was considered to be one of the kind of Formula One 1950 season events, though a large proportion of these races in particular didn't actually race in that event. So a little strange, but there you go. So yeah, there's a lot of problems that people had. One of them we don't really know, and we probably will never know because it's been 70-something years since this event. And yeah, overall, that was the 1950 British Grand Prix. It was, yeah, a massive kind of worldwide event post-World War II, and even the previous Queen Elizabeth of England attended, which is pretty cool. So let's look finally at the championship standings. In first place after this event was Nino Farina, followed by Luigi Fagioli, followed by Reg Parnell, followed by Yves Giraud Cabatunus and Louis Rosier, rounding out the top 5. This will change a lot as we go into future races, but overall, that was the 1950 British Grand Prix and your race report. Next up in next video is the 1950 Monaco Grand Prix, so stay tuned for that. So that was your race report for this week for the 1950 British Grand Prix. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know any kind of feedback or anything you might have in the comment section below about how I could improve or how I could change this format. If you'd like me to cover more than one race in any of these videos, also let me know, because I'd be definitely open to that. And yeah, that being said, I hope you have a great, wonderful day. Remember to like and subscribe. I'd greatly appreciate it. Do all the YouTuber stuff. And thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys next week for This Week in Formula One. Stay tuned for that. Bye for now. Peace.